Yeah, those are the candles.
That smells like dead owl.
Oh, no, not dead owls.
Those are the candles.
I don't even want to
light.
smell what a live owl is.
Shit.
That's all weird.
It's a hoot of a good time.
Okay.
I want a dead candle.
Just reminiscing about dead candles makes me think maybe we should just jump into this episode. Dead candles, dead things. Hey, welcome back to Rabbit Troop Sucks. We are a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and yes, often overlooked films. And today we're going to be looking at 30 Days of Night, 2007. Just in time, you just changed your clocks. You sprung ahead, so welcome to the future. And, winter's over. Welcome to spring. So we're going springtime. I mean, well, next week is what I'm saying is next week will be spring, at least as this airs. So what better way to, get into it with 30 Days of Night than just the end of winter. But as always, before I say as always and introduce myself, we're at full capacity. We formed Voltron, we formed the Blazing Sword, and we're coming at you with 7 of us today. Like a magnificent 7. Like 7 samurai.
How many tigers or whatever was Voltron?
It's 5.
I'm Voltron's codpiece.
Okay.
Okay.
I was going to say, with 7 of us, someone's got to be the dick.
Or codpiece. Clearly cod. Form blazing codpiece. But yeah, as always, I am Paul. Next to me is Mike.
Yo.
We got Lamar.
Yes.
We have Nemo.
Hi.
We have Jeremy.
Hola.
We have Rami.
Hey.
And we have Collin.
Yo.
And half of them are... No, I'm just kidding.
This is like 90% of the people that I know are in this room right now.
I know,
There you go.
Mike, sometimes you're like, I don't want a podcast.
Real
I'm like, but they're all in this room.
What else would I do?
Who else are you going to hang out with?
Yeah, this is it.
We just need to hire a bartender, like Mo Sizlak, and then
You have people serving hors d'oeuvres throughout the recording.
That would be great.
Yeah,
actually.
that would be great. That'd be complete.
I mean, we've got all the Yorks that we can handle, so.
We just need a couple sponsors so we can get it done.
Yeah.
We had a very interesting conversation about peppermint patties earlier that involved Rami. I was like, oh, there's some peppermint patties, and Rami's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Collin goes,
What?
Collin goes, York peppermint patties. And Rami still seemed a little baffled. And I did say, Collin did go out of his way to specify that it was a York peppermint patty, but...
I know what a York peppermint
Yeah, what?
is. I just don't know what it is. It's just a peppermint patty.
Just some shitty
Like from
off-brand.
Charlie Brown?
It's like Kirkland peppermint patty.
It'd be probably delicious.
Yeah, probably.
It's just a regular York, but in a different wrapper.
Well, 30 Days of Night, 2007. After an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for a month, it is attacked by a bloodthirsty gang of vampires. I really had to think. I knew Nemo would be here for this episode, and I really had to think about some checklists. You just can't have it all, but I mean, sometimes you can. But this movie's not going to be everything checked off for Nemo. I mean, not that she's going to say she likes or dislikes it based on this, but a movie that we would choose because of this. One, a lot of times we go martial arts. Not really in this film at all. Maybe some deflecting of some vampires, but not really. But noting vampires, that's on a checklist. Cool monsters, vampires. The Shade of Night alone, we're getting Nemo in, another checklist. Hunky Boy Smoke Show. We have Josh Hartnett back at it. As I noted, shared crush by Collin's mom. From Lucky Number 11, as suggested by Collin's mom. You should go back and listen to that episode. But yeah, there were some checklists. I mean, there's action, there's adventure, there's horror, there's vampires, and there's a Hunky Boy Smoke Show.
30 Days of Hartnett.
I mean, he's very dirty and wearing a parka.
Yeah, you don't get.
I texted Nemo beforehand, and she approved.
Okay.
His hotness would meet the level of a movie we should discuss.
This was sufficient hotness for you?
Yes, this
Okay.
is before things went downhill. It was good.
Is he ugly now?
No, he's just, he's more of a, he doesn't even have a zaddy vibe.
Yeah, so
it's more like a dad bod with lacking the bod.
Just like a weird nose and an inability to grow a beard really does it for
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
just like,
That's what me and Josh share together. Our inability to grow a beard.
Yeah. I share that as well. Just ratty cold men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you forgot all about the
Got the Hartnett
the
hairline.
blood that also occur, which was really great in contrast to all the the whiteness that was occurring too.
Well, actually, they filmed
Nemo
all
likes
the
blood
night
and hates
scenes.
whiteness.
It was really snowy, okay, guys?
Another checklist.
All the night scenes were actually filmed during the daytime.
Yeah.
And they used
Yep.
some kind of special filter.
That's what I was saying, because when they were watching it, or I mean, we were all together outside of Lamar, that they kept noting that Billy, one of the sheriffs, that he had very, very white teeth. And I kept taking notes, and I only saw like flashes of it, and I was like, damn it. And then they said that, and I remember reading in the trivia that this was filmed during the day, so I was wondering if that effect was doing something to his actual teeth.
After you said that,
Maybe.
I started to notice how weird the contrast was on a lot of things, where it was like dark, a lot of it, but some part of it was like super white. Wow. And I think it probably was like to do with that weird filtering.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Maybe
sense.
that's why they gave everybody in this movie bad fucking hygiene.
Yeah.
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 Well,
mean,
they're
it
also
helps.
from Alaska. Or whatever.
That's right, you fucking Alaskans.
Yeah.
Well, our director, David Slade, kind of has a weird track list. So I don't think it's going to be any surprise that it did Twilight Eclipse.
Oh, gross.
But he also did...
Oh, that makes sense.
He also did Hard Candy with Elliot Page.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, so I'm like, wow, that's like super diverse. We've got a bunch of writers across the board, and trying to think. Who
Sam
else.
Raimi is one of the producers.
Yep.
Yes, I was going to note that as well, and it's Steve Niles did the screenplay and the comic. And I read a little bit about this, and I guess he like really wanted this to be a movie, but then like people didn't want him to do this, and then he's like, I'm gonna do this as a graphic novel, and somehow like the same production company's like, well, we've basically got a subsidiary of like another company, and like you could do a graphic novel, but then they like repicked it up to do a movie. Like it's kind of bizarre. Like it was like a weird like back and forth. Like
Is there a graphic novel as well?
this is what it's based off of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this whole movie's based on a graphic novel by him, Steve Niles. And then he is just noted like he also then did the screenplay. I didn't really note like he did a ton outside of that. He did something called Wake the Dead. Beyond that, like there's other writers who worked on the screenplay, other people who also, wrote Hard Candy, various other things. But yeah, like it didn't seem like this really set the writer off in any direction. I remember when this movie came out, it was like, this is a graphic novel movie, and like really big, especially 2007. But yeah, I want to know like also like the cast. I don't really know the cast from a lot of stuff outside of Josh Hartnett. Again, the last time we saw him, Lucky Number 11. We also saw him in, we covered The Faculty, but he's been in big things. He's been in Trap, The
Danny
Bear,
Houston's been in a
Oppenheimer.
lot of stuff.
Who's that?
He's the head vampire guy.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
been in a
yeah.
lot. And then the stranger, Ben Foster, has been in a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then
I liked him. He's my favorite character of the movie.
the main girl is from an award winner from the Australian series The Slap.
Ah.
Which has
Well, a lot of
probably
these
the most
actors-
hilarious ad I've ever seen in my
That's
life.
an Australian series.
Well, she's also in an Australian series that actually kind of freaks me out. I had to talk to someone from Australia once about the show. Not that I was like forced to talk to an Australian, but like I was talking to like this dude about this Australian show, and I was like, "Hey man, because you're from Australia, I have this really weird question." And I was like, "I watched this show once when I was younger." And apparently, this woman was in it, the woman who plays Stella. And I'm going to get to this in a second because this is kind of crazy. I should look this up. Or, Collin, can you look up the Australian show Home and Away? So I was explaining the show, and this Australian dude about my age is like, oh, dude, you're describing Home and Away. And I was like, yeah, it was like these kids, and they were like going surfing, but there was like drama. But I was like, it was super bizarre. And I remember he's like, dude, that show's been going on forever. And if Collin like has looked it up, she was in it for like a year, but like apparently everyone in Australia has. This show's been going on it's still going.
It's like the
there's
Australian Law and Order.
38 seasons.
Yeah, when did it
Christ,
start?
dude.
It started in 1988.
Yeah,
There's
so-
8,434
I remember
episodes.
you
my
bringing this up to me.
Yeah,
a while
I told
ago.
this. Yeah, I told this to Lamar a long time ago because Jeremy, like, we were like, I was living in Missouri, and this was like on during a summer. Like, I'm gonna make it up, like early '90s, and it was only on like a local network. And just because we were off in the summer, and I just kept seeing it at like 9 to 10 in the morning. It was like a 1 hour show. I was like, what is this? And I like got into it because there's nothing else on TV. Then I never saw it again, and I thought this was like some weird dream. And then Australian Man was like, no, man. It's just
We
a
love
show
it.
that goes on all of our lives.
The list of characters
Home and
is
Away.
its own Wikipedia page.
Are you
That's
serious?
crazy.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you remember Summer Heights High?
Yeah. Yes, Mom.
Yes, Mom. Puck you. That was not an Australian accent. I'm sorry.
It could have been.
Yeah.
That's close enough, Mike.
Yeah.
They filmed this
The
movie
Australians
in
of the
New
North.
Zealand, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, New Zealand.
We were talking about that. You know, you film in New Zealand.
They
and-
filmed an Alaskan town in New Zealand.
well, Peter Jackson comes out and dubs you at night.
Yeah.
Right there.
All the snow
Yeah.
was
I
salt.
said you get a lock of his hair.
When you say
Wow.
dubs you, like as a knight,
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter Jackson can do that.
Peter Jackson comes out.
But that's
Personal.
Colin, that's a dab.
He might dab dub you.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, that's fine.
He might dad dub
dab dub.
dub you. Damn. I don't even know if I got that right.
The-
Hurts me.
It hurt
We're a
us all.
podcast about obscure people.
30 days of pork sausage.
Wow, we did it.
You'd be dead after that.
Big beef.
Jeremy, I think you watched the wrong movie.
I did.
Yeah.
Colin, do you think your mom's seen this movie?
Actually, I think when this came out, I think we might have seen this in the theater.
I know this is like the heyday of Colin's mom's crushing on Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was
This
also
movie came, kids get in the car.
yeah. This was I think this is what 2004. So I was like 2007. So I had just graduated high school then. So
It's not too late. Kids get in the car.
It's not too late. This is prime Hartnett, prime going to see
Colin,
movies.
Colin,
So-
wake up. You're a man now. Get in the car. We're going to see a Josh Hartnett.
We need to talk about the Muffin Muncher.
Oh,
You forgot Monster.
The monster Muffin Muncher?
Something
Rami
like that.
didn't. Rami never forgot.
I'm familiar.
Yeah.
Speaking of first experiences with this movie, what is everybody's first experience with this movie? Did you see it in the theaters? See it like 2 years ago on VHS?
Honestly,
What is
Lamar,
it?
I think
VHS?
I've only seen
I
this
don't know.
movie once. I think I've only seen this movie once, and I thought I saw it with
Yeah?
you and Mike.
Yeah. I think we saw this in the theater.
Yeah, if we didn't,
I saw
it was
this in the theater.
so close after, and then we saw it like on
Yeah.
cable. Or,
Yeah.
I think we may have saw it in the theater or seen it in the theater. Like
this
that's
is
my thought.
probably like my 12th viewing of this movie.
Lord.
That's not good.
I
Stop
will,
watching this
I will
fucking
join
movie.
you in the 12th viewing because I think
Stop
I've seen
that.
this many
Wow.
times too.
Have you
Yeah,
seen the
I've
se-
seen this a ton of
Have you
times.
seen
Yeah.
the sequel?
No,
Okay.
I think I did.
Why would you watch this 12 times and not bother with the sequel?
I don't know.
one time?
He's trying to get him.
You
and
need
to
a
be
fa-
honest with you, I was watching it today, and I have some questions.
Colin,
So we'll bring those up as we go through.
Those
this.
questions,
You're right. I
those
should've-
questions are probably answered by the sequel.
Well, really, the backdrops in the summary. So this town of Barrow is basically shutting down. It's an Alaskan town, and a lot of people are leaving, and they're just leaving for 30 days because it's going to be night. I also want to note, this movie always reminds me, there is a Tales from the Crypt where some dude is in Alaska and he's escaping vampires. And I don't know if anyone's ever seen it, but I'm going to spoil the end of it. At the very end, like, this guy gets out of an escape hatch and he's like, I did it, sunlight. And the vampires are like, there's not going to be sun for 30 days. And the guy's like, no. And that's like kind of how it ends.
Wait, did the guy not know?
Did he forget?
I don't know.
He deserves to die.
He forgot when he was in the tunnel.
It was time now.
Like, maybe like the dude flew in Alaska and he was not from there. And like this was the situation. But like, I don't remember that. I just remember
What a
like that was the
doofus.
end. Like, oh my God.
I vaguely remember that episode because
Yeah,
I thought
like-
it was really stupid. I'm like,
I was
really,
like,
dude?
I was like, I wish I saw it more recently, or at least knew the end of that right now. But I was like, yeah, like it kind of silly, but it always reminded me of this. But yeah, this town's shutting down. I was very clear, much like Blast from the Past, my love of living in a fallout shelter. I was like 30 days, like clearly no vampires, but 30 days. I was like, what? So there's like 100 people sticking around, or 150.
152.
Yeah, so like, I was like, what are they being tasked to do day to day? Because I told everyone
Clean
in
the
the room,
shitters, man.
well, I was like, if I was like tasked with very little, like they jokingly were like, you got to feed the dogs. I was like, if that was my day to day, just for 30 days, that'd be so dope. They did.
I mean, do you think the town just stops functioning and everyone has a vacation?
Kind
That's
of.
what I
Yeah.
assume.
Okay.
I don't
Really?
think
It doesn't
Well,
need
I
a lot of
think it's
maintenance.
pretty cold there. They're probably like, this sucks.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not a
Sunday.
vacation
Well,
so much
well-
as like not dying for 30 days.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be going many places. I mean, I told Collin, I was like, if I was much younger, if like you were like a 15-year-old boy and you said like stocked up on video games and you're just like, your job for 30 days is like mainline video games, this would be a total vacation. But then they do shut down things that the bar's like, oh, we don't serve for 30 days. I was like, whoa, I didn't sign up for that.
Yes.
Like,
That's
Yeah,
a
nuh-uh.
bullshit
yeah,
rule.
like
that's a bummer.
That's what I
If you
thought.
want me to live in the dark for 30 days without alcohol, okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
planning.
I'd be like, Mike would just be like walking up the street once a day, you know, going to the bar, checking things out. No one's charging you. You feed the dogs. You play some video games. The town gets together for like the town movie. You go to bed. Like, it's awesome.
I feel like the bar probably.
What's the
starts
purpose of this town? What do they do? What are they there for?
Dare
Pipeline.
you
Yeah,
ask
come
that?
on.
You said
Why?
I mean,
Jeremy,
really, what
they're
are they
there for
doing up
one
there?
reason. Because no one
Why?
else can.
Yeah, no one's caring.
There's a,
Is that what they say in the movie?
Yeah,
they
it's such a
look-
movie.
You gotta be.
they literally say that, but they're there for the pipeline. I'm
That was-
guessing
that
a lot
was-
of
yeah.
people there.
There was a lot of
Okay,
pipeline
there's a
oil
pipeline that
worker.
runs through there.
That was Eben's cheerleader move and moment when he was like, we've got to take on these vampires because, you know, we live here because no one else can. And they're like, yeah.
Well, see how that turned out.
Not well. I mean, his name was Eben, so
Couldn't be
God,
Evans.
that's
Had
awesome.
to be a buh.
yeah.
He was a buh.
I didn't realize he was a butt till an hour and a half into the movie.
Yeah, I just Jeremy, again, this seems like right up your alley. Like 30 days if you just like really had like one task a day. And then beyond that, it was just like, who cares it's cold? This, as Mike noted numerous times, because we're like, what are these vampires doing? The town is like 1 square mile at most. So even though it's cold, you're going to be fine.
Well, I have some other questions about that too. Like
Okay.
these vampires are in this town, and I feel like they kill maybe 90% of the town in like
Sure.
the first day.
Right away. They
Like,
blew
why
the load
don't
real
you
fast.
fucking conserve? I mean, you got 30 days before you gotta leave,
Of
man.
night, 30 days from night.
Yeah.
Because how else can they?
By the way,
put word
Barrow,
origin in the
Alaska, which it's
description?
not called Barrow anymore, but that was a real town. They have
because the
67
vampires
days
got
of
it.
night.
Oh, yeah.
67.
Yeah, I read that. It
That's-
was totally off. It was like, yeah, double, more than double. Also, that town doesn't exist anymore because you saw how this movie ends.
Yeah, this is a documentary. About
Yeah.
They
That's
only
right.
made it 30 days.
This
That's
is
why it was 30.
this is the Alaskan Roanoke.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not anything to do with the-
People come in, they're like, they see all the
It's
burnt
just
husks of
Yeah.
like bodies and stuff. They're like, well, this is some cheap real estate. Let's go, guys.
Do it. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, would anyone else want to do that 30 days?
No,
Like, yeah,
that sounds terrible.
It
I would
does.
totally
fair.
do it.
That's
hell
too
yeah,
cold.
Nemo.
Totally
I'd do
do
it
it.
once.
if I had to, like,
It's
if I would
negative
live there.
20 degrees outside, dude.
Yeah, I'm
that
not
is
doing
fucking
that.
cold.
My friend Mike, who has been a guest musician on the show, Mike Dooley, shout out. He lives in South Dakota, and this week he sent me a screenshot. And oh my god, it was this is my favorite part. Like when you look at the weather, it has that feels like.
Yeah.
It was in the morning where he was at -16, and with the wind, I've never seen it this low. The screenshot was feels like -37.
Jesus Christ. It's like you let your dog out and they're just like, fuck you. And come immediately back in.
And
Yeah.
you want to go to Alaska for night month? No.
Yeah, I'm in.
Well, I mean, as long as we have shelter, I am not staying outside, just
That's what I'm
wandering
sa-
in the wilderness.
That's what I'm saying.
You
You
want
know,
to be in a
like-
dark,
like-
cold prison
You-
for a
you're gonna
month?
be in
I
a
bet you there's
cold-ass
gonna be
house.
some artificial light. That
You
I
think
can
they have
wear.
like dope Wi-Fi up there for you to use? It's gonna, dude. It's,
You got,
it's
like,
it's gonna suck
5
so
gig
hard.
I
Wi-Fi.
would assume you would like to practice your music there.
I don't want to go there at all. I want to stay at my
Use
house.
Music here.
Yeah.
I go.
My
I'd go there
my
if it was,
daily
like,
life
30 days
sounds
of
better
sunlight.
than this.
30 days, so it's 30 days of sunlight there. Blah.
Yeah, give me it.
So overrated. Everyone does
like
that now.
bullshit.
Everyone does that.
Go drink some
Like
orange
I want to
juice,
hang out
Grandpa.
like by a fire. with like the sun up in the air, and it's like midnight. You know,
we could go to Albuquerque
having some
and have
bees.
30 days of not night, and it would suck, but be better than that.
Yeah.
No, I would never do that.
Yeah,
Like,
30 days in Albuquerque, that's too much.
Is that-
No one wants that.
I'll agree
would
on
you,
that,
What would you rather
yes.
do? 30 days of night in Alaska or 30 days in Albuquerque?
Maybe Albuquerque.
It just
Really?
No, not at all.
And when they were having those whiteout blizzards, it seems so pleasant. One of the things I get in my weird algorithm of like social media feeds, this is my favorite, is it's usually like plush areas to rent, like clearly like out of a price range of my entire life. But like imagine like this like magical like wooden like house in the woods, but then like it's in deep snow and you just see like the glass and like the snow coming down. It's like the most peaceful thing. Like, it's always like
Yeah.
next to fireplaces. I'm sure like it is probably $50,000 a night, if not more, to rent. But I'm glad someone videotaped this because it looks like the most amazing damn place on
Yeah.
earth. But that's kind of what it reminds me of. That's why I could handle it, Mike. Like 30 days of that. Like again, not vampires.
I don't
not
think
something-
Barrow, Alaska has that house though, Paul.
It doesn't.
You know,
It doesn't.
like you're in a shanty.
I'm sure I could handle it. It just looks terrible.
I think one of the
Yeah,
things
it's a
that-
shit town, man.
One of the things that's missing
Pipeline
from this is like a monetary, like how much are you willing to be paid?
Right, am I getting
Like,
compensated for this?
Would
That's
you do
what-
this for $100,000 a year, work on a pipeline, and live
I
in
just
this city?
I just said 30 days. I was like, that's what I said before. I was like, I was under the assumption if I was still getting paid, and just for 30 days, I basically had to do nothing. Like,
I think the impression that you're under that you're doing nothing is false. I'm sure you have to do things.
feed the dog.
You got to feed the
Feed
dog.
the dog. You have to feed yourself. You have to
Still
not
gotta-
be fucking miserable.
Gotta chop
for
some
30
wood.
days.
Got
Make sure the
charged the
pipes is-
generators.
I feel when you're down to like 100 people in this kind of situation, then like everyone's just like, me, Collin, and Rami are like on dinner duty for everyone.
I'll bet
And
it's
then-
still you do what you do every day. It just sucks more.
Yeah, you, like,
But it'd be snowing,
you,
nice.
you go to the diner
You
and
shiver.
then you're just miserable when you go to the diner because it's cold as
You got to
shit.
shovel snow every fucking day, or else the HOA shows up.
What HOA?
I'm sure they
those
have
are the
one.
dogs.
They're everywhere.
They come
State of
riding out on the
Alaska
dog
HOA.
sleds. Like, notice.
Well, I mean,
Noticed your-
basically, as we get through the town is shutting down and 30 days of night is going to start. People do leave. We meet a couple people. What was Stella's role in this? So she's like the fire marshal.
marshal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
breezing
Yeah.
through town.
she's trying to leave but can't.
Yeah, she
and-
sucked at her job.
Yeah,
Look at the town at the end.
Everyone in this movie sucked at their job.
And so there's a backstory between her and Eben.
They're married, apparently. We found out at the end.
Yeah, which is
Separated,
They
I
don't
guess.
feel-
weird.
yeah. They
but-
seem like boyfriend girlfriend the best.
Yeah, the entire movie. That's the impression I'm under. That they're like
Kind of acquaintances.
ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, and there's like something that was happening, and maybe they want to get back together, but there's something from stopping this.
Yeah, Eben was in the butt stuff, and she wasn't.
But like his butt, though, right?
Vampire butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now she's gonna be coming back to town. Couple, officers are there.
Literally
Him
a
and Billy.
couple.
Yeah, random townsfolk, and that's it. And some people leave. We don't really know them. Town shuts down, and boom! Immediately there are some vampires. There are vampires wearing suits. I don't know why.
But
I had a lot of
how
questions.
were they
Hey, man,
let there?
you got to dress to
though?
impress.
How were they let there?
Stranger.
There are a couple
They
exposition
came in on a
pieces.
boat.
This movie has zero exposition throughout the entire thing. But at the very beginning, they do a couple things where there are a bunch of burnt phones in the ground.
Yep.
Yeah, who burned those phones, and where did they get them?
The stranger, I think. He rounded up everybody's cell phones and burned them.
How? He just got to town. It was going to be night for 30 days that
Yep.
night. Like, he got everybody's phones that quickly.
He's like he's like the Grinch.
How did he know where they were?
He's like the Grinch. He comes in
And he's just
Look
grabbing
at
all
his
the
phones are in
phones.
their pockets.
he knows exactly where all the phones are.
That's true.
Hit outside town.
He did a lot behind the scenes.
Yeah.
One of these
He was
things that he did
Yeah,
behind
so-
the scenes was really gruesome.
Well, we should say
Yeah,
who
this
this
guy
person
did like
is.
30 days of work in 1 hour.
Well, but before we say all the things this guy did, we have a stranger who comes to town, and he goes to a diner, and Eben is called in because this guy's being super weird about everything. He's like, people are coming and you're gonna die. He's like, yeah, cool, dude. Like, maybe let's not say that, and just takes him to the town jail. Locks him up real good. The guy's being a big old super weirdo. Throughout the movie, we find out this was kind of a long con on a vampire end, where this guy is basically going town to town, or he gets humans to go town to town to, I don't really know what to do.
He's like their familiar, kind of.
I know, but like they could have come to that town anyhow.
I think they call it a Judas goat. He leads the other
Okay.
goats to
A
the
Judas
slaughter.
goat?
You aren't familiar with the Judas goat?
Yeah.
No one is familiar with it.
Yeah, is that
No,
is that
I
a band?
have no
Take a
idea.
time out.
Is that is that a web page Mike needs to own? Judas Goat?
Yeah, we're
I think his other
making
job.
purchases.
Can Judas Goat lead us to Rabbit Troop Sucks?
Can you list the differences between a Judas goat and a dick pony?
No, same thing. Perfect overlap on that Venn diagram.
A lot of overlap.
Golly.
Wow.
I think one of the jobs of this stranger or the familiar was to like set it up for the vampires to make it easier, because he comes to town, burns the cell phones, and then he fucking kills the dogs.
Yeah, he kills their dogs.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah, this is the bullshit fucking story.
Starts wrecking all their shit.
Well, we don't know that he's the one that kills the dogs. I mean, it's kind of like building up to the stranger
Didn't he
being very
punk-
weird.
He punctured some holes in like the generator tank or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So he's doing a
Yeah.
lot of shit to prevent like them from leaving.
Yeah, they,
From leaving or like communicating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
He's cutting the phone lines.
they jacked up the guy's helicopter.
Yeah, fucked up the helicopter.
Oh, is that why that
that
brake
was
was
next.
potentially cut off in that
Yes.
weird machine thing? He was like, something was happening
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
brake, and that's when it plowed into
Yeah.
Stella's.
Oh,
Stella's.
The Muffin
Yeah.
Muncher.
Yep.
Yeah,
I thought he was
that,
just drunk or
that
something.
wasn't explicit, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
totally
because
a
he's
thing.
like, I don't know what happened. The brake was da-da-da, and it just broke down, and then that's why Stella got stuck and couldn't leave on the airport, to the airport. Yep.
Malachi
I mean-
couldn't drive.
That's very generous of you.
Yeah, that's a pretty generous interpretation, but it could be, like,
Yeah.
he did a bunch of other bullshit, so why not destroy that machine as well?
Yeah, why not?
I also like how the guy.
Because they were only down to one machine that worked.
And that machine worked perfectly the rest of the movie, so
Yep.
not just bad driving, evidently.
That's stranger.
I also like how Stella's ride, like that dude left on his plane. He's just like, fuck her.
No,
I'm leaving.
He's like, bye.
time's up.
He offered that he could stay at her house like 3 times. He's like, me, the family, we're going to be there. There's a
Yeah.
spare room. She's like, no. He's like, well, me, the family, the spare room. She's like, I hate it. He's like, I don't know what to say.
She
to you."
didn't want to do anything. She
No.
was just a grumpy Gus the whole movie.
I told Nemo she
Oh,
had a
God.
look of just like pure bafflement.
Yes.
I mean,
bewilderment the whole time. Like,
I don't think it's like I don't think it's so much that is she just had an inability to close her mouth.
yes. Which made it look like that.
There was 0 scenes in this movie where she had a closed mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's so true.
Well, she's Australian, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Yeah,
what
she's a
she
mouth
thinks
breather.
Americans look and talk like.
Like just,
Hey.
She was choking down her accent.
Mouth breathers.
Yeah.
What we
It's
are.
not all she was choking though.
That's right.
Oh,
That's a shame.
Sorry.
that's a vampire.
but
joke.
I was trying to like keep an eye on the like bewilderment thing, and you know, despite the 3 face changes she had, it was the mouth thing. She just couldn't fucking
Yeah.
close her goddamn jaw the whole movie.
Never. And the only time was when she was laying face down under a car.
And I think she was slowly like passing out because of all the fumes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you lay there, you will die.
But honestly,
up.
she probably had that O face looking straight down.
You can see her teeth.
Face.
The chipmunk teeth.
Yeah, yeah, that's weird. But yeah, these vampires just come immediately to town. Like shit's being wrecked pretty much immediately. Like the stranger's locked up, and we like as an audience, you know this is a vampire movie. It's billed as a vampire movie. This is not a mystery. So yeah, I mean, so Stella then drives off and was like, I'm gonna go check some things out, and Eben goes with her, and they go survey some stuff. I do like this scene. I like some of the mystery. There is like a lot of elements I like in this film. And one of it is she's just kind of surveying, and she's like, get back in the car. And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, get in the car now. He barely moves to get in that car. The urgency is not there at all. But she just starts backing the hell up. A question I have is she never really turns around.
And yet she's driving straight.
Yeah, then the
The
next
next
scene.
scene.
Yeah, the next scene I was like, all right.
Like me.
But there is a vampire on top of the car just wreaking havoc. It is going bananas. And he's like, what the hell's going on? No one really knows. I mean, they do not know what's happening. I mean, you as an audience, you're like, ooh, that's a vampire. But that vampire gets knocked off and they drive off. And I think that's a fun, like, lead-in to these vampires coming into town. Nemo said something to me as we're watching this. And she's like, do you know like how many days have gone by? And like this movie isn't really good at telling you the time jumps.
Except for the times when it explicitly tells you what day it is.
Yeah, it's like it's literally, I think they're like day 7, day 28, day 30. Yeah. I was like, like
that's one of the things I don't like about this film is like I feel like they tried to fit in 30 days. There's other ways that they could have done the 30-day gimmick.
I agree.
But there are pacing issues with this movie.
Well, yeah, when Nemo's
Big ones.
like this much time has elapsed and then they're like day 7, I was like, holy shit, like
yeah, like
I thought this was like
of the people are dead.
I thought it was like 2 days tops, like generously. Then when they get to like day 18, I was like under the assumption that was like maybe only a few days later. I was like, I totally agree, Jeremy. The pacing is off. The idea that, as Mike said, they only explicitly tell you certain dates, they should have just done it or not. Like, if they're only going to do 3 days, like, they didn't have to be like day 1, day 2, but like, it should have been, I think, at least a few more than 3 dates. Like, I was like, what?
They should have given us more context.
Yeah.
Like, there's other ways that you can do it where we understand that time is passing. Like, it felt like it was one half of a day, and then all of a sudden it was 7 days later, and then it's like,
well, you kind of saw his facial hair grow a little bit. That's
that's
about it. Beyond that, it's like I don't know.
That's actually one of the things I kind of respect about this movie is it really committed to having no exposition. There is none. So you kind of have to pick up the clues like as you go, and like it didn't do it successfully, but I respect the attempt.
I like that on the end of the vampires. Like, we really know nothing about them. They're a bunch of weirdos. There's the trivia is like this is like an original language made for the movie. They're speaking another ancient language. That's kind of what it's billed to us as the audience members. This
is another problem I have with this movie. So these are ancient vampires with some kind of lost language, meaning they're very, very old or whatnot, or at least the head guy is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But some fucking hicks from Barrow, Alaska, like best these dudes. Like,
hey,
come
man.
on, come on,
America.
I mean, there's vampires.
They're
not
built
like fucking,
Alaska tough. Damn it.
Yeah.
They took over a fucking crew of sailors, man, and this town gets them.
Yeah.
Those sailors suck, but
Now
Alaska, Barrow, Alaska, they're built tough.
Now
no one can survive there but them.
Yeah, now they met Eben.
That's a Chevrolet
Yeah.
ad. I feel like.
I told you.
Yeah, you're like
Sponsored by Chevy.
Yeah.
I noticed that it was all Chevys in this movie. Old Chevys, but Chevys.
Well, Jeremy, I feel there is something to be said. Like, there's this ancient guy, at least that guy, because he tries to, like, when we hear his vampiric language, the subtitles that he's telling these other vampires, it is some kind of tutelage of the past. Like, he is like, these are the ways, and this is this. Like, and I'm assuming maybe this guy just recently woke up and he's like accruing some people, like town to town.
That's what I got.
Yeah, but we don't really know. So I'm like, I am kind of down with that. Like, I like the ideas. Going back, these are very, very many side conversations Mike and I have had about like the Alien franchise. Mike and I really like the idea in Alien and Aliens, like the first two, that you're like, you really don't know shit about these aliens, and that's the best part of it. And these later movies, like Prometheus and stuff, they're like, we're going to tell you about like how their DNA's with humans. We're going to get backstory. Like, shut up. You are ruining this. Like, this is dumb. Stop it. And the best part of Aliens is you're like, holy shit, what is this? And that's kind of the vampires in this movie for me. Like, there is an element of that. I am wondering why they're wearing suits.
I guess they went to Hogwarts and turned Professor Snape because he's in there.
Yeah, I saw that guy. Young Snape.
Yeah.
Snape.
Yeah. I mean, he's casting magical spells on my heart.
Where did they get the suits, man?
Maybe that's what the boat was carrying.
Suits.
The hot pants?
The hot pants. No, it was like a men's warehouse vessel.
Follow me in Suits for All.
Where were they going?
They were Italian suits to Alaska.
Ah, there we go.
The town of Barrow likes to dress fancy.
No, I agree. I like the idea that they're just kind of cruising around on this boat. The way I took it was like they just dick around on this boat or other boats until they run into a town where it's dark for a while, and then they fuck it up.
Now, this might be a weird question,
you
but
go.
was there a boat and I missed it?
Yes.
It was at
Yeah.
the beginning.
The,
It was
the
big.
very first scene was like a boat kind of in the ice, and then you see the stranger.
Yeah,
And the
and he starts
stranger-
walking into the.
You can see the
town.
stranger. He like took a rowboat
They're-
from that boat to the land. It was kind of a weird beginning, but once you get through the movie, it starts to come together. And I feel like that's the heart of this movie. You just got to plow through it, and you'll understand everything, even though there's nothing that
Nothing
needs to be understood. It's
Yeah.
just a vampire.
Yeah, there isn't really. I kind of
I've
the
got
end.
it all and
the main
nothing.
vampire says something like, "We've maintained this mystery of like our presence for, millennia or whatever." So the way I took it was like they just tear up towns that they can,
Well,
that hide the
So-
damage.
So earlier in the movie, he says something like, "Dude, I can't. Like, it's been so long. Like, or it's unbelievable, basically, that we've been around for so long and not heard of a place like this,
Right.
where there's so much
Okay.
darkness." So I kind of took it like that. This was kind of like a novel.
It was a
new
treat
thing
for them?
It was a treat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
They're on vacation.
So they spent a millennia hiding in the
They
darkness.
booked through like vampire cruises.
And they find some dinky ass town where they can just be
Right.
themselves
Nice.
and murder
A
relentlessly.
nonstop
nice.
orgy of
Yeah.
destruction,
Yeah.
as was the description of the
Yeah.
movie.
And so they kind of let
there you go.
themselves go and fuck it up terribly.
That's why they're wearing suits, because it's like a formal event for
yeah,
them.
they're like we're gonna
Yeah.
destroy this town. We're gonna have a good ass time, and then they fuck it up immediately.
Yeah. Well,
And the
bad
head,
luck from
the head vampire does note later on, and he's like, we have done all of these things to like keep our mythos going,
Yeah.
essentially. Like, people just think we're bad dreams. They're never gonna believe vampires are real.
Yeah.
yeah.
Keep it going.
Well, also, none of the crew listens to him, because the first thing he said was, "Don't turn anybody, just kill him." Immediately, they start,
Everybody's turning.
they start turning.
I thought that was just because they were
Kids.
sloppy. Like they didn't really.
They're just
they
not-
didn't- They were too into
They
it.
weren't disobedient. They just suck at this.
What's the vampire version of Sloppy Joe?
Oh my god.
That guy under that building with the hurt leg.
Oh,
Oh, my leg hurts.
see the specific direction he gave was like, you gotta separate the heads. That's why the first scene you see is of Gus
Gus,
being
yeah.
Yeah.
heads. His head is on the spike, and so I'm like, okay, so you're separating heads. And I'm like, I've only counted one head.
Well,
Where
Yeah.
are the other heads?
well, let's
They
get into
threw
it.
that
I mean,
idea right out the fucking
well, let's get into it with like
Yeah.
some like how to fight vampires and what works and doesn't, because basically now that they've seen this one vampire and he was on a truck, they're like, oh my god, let's get back into town. They get immediately back into town. That's Eben and Stella, and there's a car flipped over. It's on fire. There are clearly a handful of vampires, the least that we the audience could see right now. And they're immediately going for people in town. Like, people are being killed. Eben is shooting. It's not really having an effect on the vampires. But then we're like, can you shoot them? And that's what Nemo was asking. And the answer is yes, if you are specifically blowing their head off their body. And he does.
like half their face off.
Yeah, so at close range, he takes out a big old like handgun and blows like half a head off a vampire. That vampire is dead. Mike, what would that vampire not do?
Oh, he ain't getting up from that.
Yeah, that is true. So you can kill vampires with guns if you basically explode them enough. Good to know. Good to know.
It would help if they had more guns that worked.
They do not.
There is
Yeah.
no gun in that
Poorly
freaking
equipped.
town. Like, what is going on? I think we talked about like
we
they're
talked-
sharing the town gun. Like they're just giving it to each other. Like, here, your turn for the gun now.
Yeah, even noting there are police officers, and even like I would assume that they would stock up for like threat of animals. That they would even just have like
It's crazy.
Yeah,
What,
just-
what animals do you think like Arctic bunnies? Like,
Polar
There-
bears.
yeah, polar bear.
Polar bear.
There's
Seal.
what- do you think seals are a big threat?
I mean, we don't know.
Well, how about this guy? I don't think they would have just like I don't think it would be like in Tremors where they're like, "Welcome to my gun
Yeah,
safe."
Gummer's up there with his elephant.
But
You don't
yeah,
think
I
that's
would
who lives in
imagine.
Alaska?
And it's a war room.
I would imagine there would be a handful of a reasonable amount of guns with bullets, not just like there is
3.
one
Yeah.
pistol in this town. Like, great.
There's 2 pistols and a shotgun.
I just assumed everyone that lived in Alaska would have
Right,
several
yes,
guns
yes.
of
When
their
Eben
own.
comes in back into town,
Yeah,
he's
they're-
going on his PA and he's like, "Everybody, get your gun and hold up."
Yeah,
Right.
everyone does have guns, but they all left.
They took their guns and they left.
Well, there's a whole
Yeah.
like scene where you see the destruction that the vampires are like causing.
Oh, from
in
the
town.
overhead
Yeah,
shot.
yeah.
where, like,
I love that scene. It's
Yeah.
like
Ah,
command and
same
conquer.
here, yes.
But then
The
from there,
overhead
that's where
scene,
you see
yes.
all the different guns.
But that wasn't that
popping
like
out.
day one though?
Yes.
No, that was like
Like,
day
everybody.
3.
Okay, day
Day
3.
Day
yeah.
3 or 4.
Day 3.
Yeah,
It was
Could have
early.
been like 6. It was almost to
Yeah,
the
30
7th.
days.
yeah.
Vampires,
7th
come
is
on.
when we're in the attic.
Yeah, during the wreckage, also, so like some dude in a truck is just like plowing through vampires. So like there are several vampires going down in the mix.
That was Beau.
Yeah, Beau is. I later note the MVP of vampire killing throughout this film.
Yeah.
Like hardcore.
As far as body count, easy.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's killing. He's got the truck with the like
With the kill
the
button.
saw on the front of it for some reason.
Yeah, we're about to,
Wow.
as noted, get to day 7 in all of this. So that stranger who's in town, the vampires come and pay him a visit because the townsfolk has basically left him. He's crazy as hell. He's clearly shifty. Eben doesn't trust him at all. He's
Evans
like,
shot him in the shoulder at this point.
yeah, he's like,
I-
leave him.
Liked that they shot him and then just
Yeah.
handcuffed him.
That was the right thing to do.
Yeah, Eben's
Good
not
luck.
having this, but now the vampires are there, and through subtitles, the head vampire notes, "You've done everything we wanted you to do. We're going to take care of you. You're a good boy," and snaps his neck.
Yeah.
Which is maybe like the humane thing that he promised. Like, I'll just kill you quick rather than like make this more of a nightmare for you.
But we
Whoa.
weren't sure if he even understood it because
Yeah.
like,
He did not.
Yeah, like,
For sure, the promise was to turn him into a vampire.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like the whole
That's the
vampire
gimmick.
familiar thing, right?
Yeah.
Now they're figuring out like where do we go? Like, the good crew. And they're like, well, this one dude has this like weird, really weird entrance in his house to an attic, and I think we should hide there. And they're like, they go check it
Yeah,
out.
he has like the Christmas vacation ladder attic.
Yeah, and so it's now day 7, and they go hide in an attic for a very obscure amount of time. And they're like, we'll just eat food and take shifts. Here's the thing, too. Like, it is like negative blank outside. And they're like, they have these big old flaps. They're like, let's just keep checking if there are vampires out there. The flap is really just like duct tape against like a wall. I'm like, it is like 0 degrees outside. They also have weird light sources. So I was like,
I was wondering about that.
yeah, I'm like, my God,
Is it
you're
a hand crank? Like,
I'm like, I don't know how this is going. Nemo constantly, with good reason, kept questioning how much food do they have because they're there for days. I don't know what's going on. Some dude and his like elderly dad and his dad's losing it is there. This woman's there. This other kid's there. Kind of kid, like younger dude's there. Stella's there. Eben's there.
I think the old man had dementia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just
The old
freaking
man.
out. The old man. The old man. But yeah, they're holed up in this attic like Anne Frank. And
He
we're just
was
holding
metal. He was like 40 in Alaska years.
Right.
40 in Alaska years, 80 in.
Collin is 25. He was
Just
working
like-
the land.
There's like 8 or 9 people up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a good amount.
With
That's a big
questionable amount of
attic.
food.
Yeah.
I saw 1 can of what looked like imported cherries.
And
Maraschino cherry.
that was Don Cherry.
I'm telling you, that's the pie filling that all the vampires had on their face.
why was their face constantly moist and red? And like I was so confused. I was like, if you're
you.
eating the blood, it's cold. It should be dry. Why
That's-
is it not dry? Why is it wet?
It's really inconsiderate.
I figured
thing to
because
ask.
they're just constantly feeding on random villagers, maybe the blood is just
Yeah.
constantly
Just
wet.
pumping
That's
all the
something
time.
too. Like,
Maybe.
There's for sure they were keeping other people alive just to feed on.
So
Yeah.
the vampires were
They're
like
smart vampires.
Okay, so
Maybe
were
none
like
of them knew they had
snackers.
blood on their face, and they were all too embarrassed to tell each other.
So
It's like Martin and Orloff with the mayonnaise.
I do have to.
Thanks, friend.
I do have to assume that the house that they're staying at, like reasonably, let's say that has some food. Like I
Yeah.
assume there's maybe bread, chips, like random things. But flash forward because this is going to be 11 days going into the future. The old man freaks. This guy or the son is like, I gotta go find them. They're both offed. Like that's just it. And now we're at day 18 and there's like a whiteout blizzard. So for 11 days, we have no idea what, and like, There's no way. There's no way. As Rami just noted, there's 9 people roughly in this room.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Where are they shitting and pissing, dude?
Well, I like when the
they
old
just
man
weren't flushing.
Well, the old man freaks is like, I'm going downstairs to the bathroom. That was that guy was waiting for 10 days for that.
Yeah, he had to go. I mean, you gotta go.
But then he escaped out the back
Pissing
window.
out the flap for 10 days.
Yeah.
But was it in those 10 days that the vampires also tried to set out baits a few times?
Okay, so
Yeah.
within that time, yes, like there's some baits. People are walking down the street, help me, and it's like all a trick that these vampires are watching. They're kind of fake promising something to these baited people, like do this or we'll kill you. Maybe that's just the promise. And then it's trying to lure people out, and that's the problem. You can't really save these people. But going back, 11 days. What the hell are these vampires doing? As we've all noted, they've really
They're on
taken
vacation, Paul. They're relaxing.
No,
man.
listen, you guys said that they took down the majority of people in like the first couple days, which is true. So why are they not like going house to house and like wrecking those houses or burning one house a day? So then the people are corralled like into a smaller area or something. Because even like during the 10 days before we get to this whiteout blizzard, they're like, oh, they're across the street at the blank house. I'm like, then why don't they go across the street to the house you're in? Like, what the hell are they doing for like in their free time? What are these vampires doing?
And they're not really checking the houses. The
Yeah.
one comes onto the roof of the attic that they're in and just walks across and like it leaves and is like, he's gone.
You guys, they like the bait.
Yeah.
It's a fishing trip for them.
So
Yeah.
there's like probably
They're probably like at each house. They're probably like, oh, let's watch a movie here. Like they're trying to hit a movie at each
Yeah,
house.
see what kind of
They
good
go to.
DVDs this one has.
there's
about the
probably
hunts.
what like 40 vampires in this whole movie, and they killed a town of like 100 people. Dude, like honestly, like they just killed 100 people. Like they're fine. Like they don't give 2 shits. Like I'm probably good for another.
Colin, I agree with you, but that head vampire
snakes?
seems so irked that there's people out there. Like every time they pan to him, he's like, people. Yeah. I'm like, dude, then just like go across the street. Like for the last 8 days, what have you been doing?
So like him and like 3 or 4 other vampires are like fucking irked about this, but the other 30 are just don't give two shits. They're just sticking around.
Well, those
It is true.
Those are
Like
reasonable
8
vampires.
days. These vampires aren't like sleeping. They don't like take naps. They fucking
don't know.
they're partying.
Dude, it's 30
It's 30 days a night.
Jeremy,
If they're
it's 30 days a
sleeping,
night,
they could have
yeah.
gone
They don't
to
give a
any
shit.
town.
Yeah.
Any town, USA, man.
Not anytime
Everybody's
USA.
sleeping.
They're in the one dark town. You can't go to any town. This is the town that's dark.
Well, like I
That's
don't
why
think
they're-
But
they're
what are
very
they
bright.
doing in the night?
They
They're
don't have to-
taking forever.
They've
This movie's
already
2 hours.
eaten.
It should have been a 90-minute
They're
movie.
sated. They're fine.
I think they're just chilling. Like,
yeah, they're
literally just chilling.
Yeah.
But they're not.
They got like board games
Well, yes,
and shit.
I agree with
They're hanging out
Colin.
with the gremlins.
Outside of the
Yeah.
4, but who are in charge? Those 4 are not chilling, and they're like, "Where are these people?" Like it's very clear. They're like, "We're gonna hunt these people down." I'm like, "Are you?" Like I could find them. A child could find them.
They're right there.
They're looking through that lit flap.
You know the 3 houses and that industrial factory that you haven't checked out? Maybe you should do that.
So that's where I was talking about their census. Like, I don't agree. I don't think that their hearing is that strong. It seems like it. Like, it's really questionable on their hearing.
Their sense is not great.
Yep. And then, like, the smell, in theory, they were sniffing people, but then I was like, people are smelling now. Why don't you smell the alive people that are running around and stuff? And then the eyes. I don't know. I don't think they can see that well. Just saying. Yeah.
No, that's not good.
No.
Yeah.
Well, during this blizzard, this whiteout, they're like, we need to move. So kind of we're all going to be in the like the whiteness, like no one's going to see us. It's the only time like we're going to be covered, and through secrecy, let's go to a place. Again, I'm like, these vampires in theory aren't stupid. So there's really 2 food sources. There's the diner, which we've kind of gone to, and then there's the general store, which everyone goes to. And they're like, we need to get some food and hole up here. I'm like, no shit, because that's where food is. Like, the diner, like, I wouldn't want that. Like, cool, like, your refrigeration shot, all the food in the diner is probably garbage outside of, like, a handful of things. The general store is definitely probably the best place to get, like, cereals and, like, dried goods, more canned stuff. Yeah, there's probably, like, industrial stuff in the kitchen and stuff at, like, the diner, but I think this would be a better call. They immediately run to a vampire girl. She freaks out.
Maybe. The reason that the vampire they ran into at the general store was the only one that spoke English, it seemed like. Maybe she was the only one who.
Well, she
knew
was a
what
recently
grocery
turned
store-
broad, wasn't she?
I think. Well, it's unclear. She had those tattoos.
She had tattoos on her
Yeah.
arms.
They're so ancient.
And no
these
one-
dumbasses didn't know what a grocery store was.
And no one recognized her. Maybe she was the only one who knew what a general store was.
I don't,
That's
guys.
why she
I
was
don't
there.
think these vampires are super smart. Colin, you mentioned that like this was a treat for them because they didn't know such a place existed. These vampires that have been around for thousands of years didn't know that like a fifth of the planet was dark most of the time.
They were
They
stuck
said
in
that.
a boat, okay?
They're,
They were stuck on a boat.
if you were born in like
simpleton
1200, you get stuck in your ways.
They don't have like a book in
300
their dumb clicky language that told them about this.
This is not interview with
read
the
books for. They could read books for 300 years and
Yep.
stop reading books at the 15th century.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I guess.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
They're not nerds, Mike.
I'm sorry.
Well, they take out this young vampire child, and then more time lapse. Like it's very clear that they're pretty much stuck here, but they do have food. They do have flashlights. Like their improvement of life from attic to this place is good. And then everyone in the room I was with
That's
was
true,
questioning,
Collin.
where did the police officer Billy go? And immediately, Billy shows up. They go to a house, and Billy's been hiding under a bed after he murdered his family.
Yeah, and he has like a fucking
Allegedly.
a fucking ponytail and a sick beard all of a sudden.
Yeah, Mike was like, did he have long hair? I was like, oh my God, like out of my mouth. I was like, I am writing this down. I was like, all of a sudden this guy has like, yes, more of a beard after, 27 days. That makes
Right?
sense.
Josh Hartnett has like a wisp of a mustache.
But
This guy's like fucking Robinson Crusoe.
yeah, this guy's got like another like half foot of hair on his head. Like it's crazy. No.
How dare you?
But then again, like, listen, we went from day 18 to 27. So the vampires didn't walk by the general store during any of this?
They were full. Who cares?
Oh my God.
They
But those-
couldn't hear
that-
anything.
But that main guy is so pissed off. He just had to walk down the street. He had to walk down the street.
Bad visions?
He's just a bad leader. I
Though-
don't. This isn't
was-
that hard to
There are 8
understand.
buildings in this
Look,
town.
when they show the crew hanging out in the general store, they are literally in the main aisles by the front window.
And just looking out.
Yeah, they're not even pretending to hide.
They don't even have a flap this time.
when they murdered that girl was screaming for like 5 minutes before
I
they
know.
finished her
I know.
off.
That's another
But
thing,
even the
yeah.
vampires thought she sucked.
Yeah.
Thank
Like,
God.
who brought this
Thank
child
God
to
humans
this?
are killing this dumb bitch.
Well, hey,
a child.
hey, if you're in a role playing game, you just gained a character, and that's Billy. Billy's part of the crew now.
Kinda.
Yeah, but he's all fucking, I killed my family and I don't know.
Billy's got some problems.
Why did he kill his family?
He didn't want it
So they
to
wouldn't
be
get murdered
turned.
by
Yeah.
vampires.
And then he said, I tried to kill myself, but the gun jammed.
So it's
Billy's
just like,
a
it's like the
fucking-
end of The Mist.
Yeah, it's
didn't know
like
how
he's
to
pulling the
unjam
mist
the gun.
kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, womp womp.
Yeah. He couldn't fucking kill himself any other way. He's a fucking quitter and a pussy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Billy's not in this movie all too much longer.
No,
Yeah,
he's not.
That's true.
Billy's only got a few more minutes.
Hey,
That's
but
very
Billy
true.
sacrificed himself-ish in some capacity. Well, he sacrificed part of him.
Actually, yeah.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Well, yeah, well, now they're like, let's go to the industrial factory. And they do. And they kind of go in underground. And for some reason, for 27 days, vampires have not walked by this at all. Earlier in the film, we see a crew of 3 people, 2 male, one female. And they're all joking. They're like, let's go get some drinks and blah, blah, blah. It's 30 days a night. Ha, ha, ha. And one guy's immediately taken out by a vampire. And we don't see like the other 2 people really again until now.
No, they killed the other guy.
They killed the
Well,
guy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So the other guy's dead, but but not in front of us then, right? I
yeah,
thought
no,
that-
they killed him. In
They-
front of
they
us.
go both the
Girls.
guys?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
pulled him under.
But the girl.
Oh,
got
that's
away.
right.
But the girl was the lady was the one who
Yeah,
like ran away.
Yeah,
or
she's
stayed
like,
there.
I've been hanging out here.
Drinking vodka.
He's drinking
Yeah.
vodka. Yeah,
Eating
she's
chocolates.
rad.
Yeah. And
Hanging out
so
with that muffin muncher.
and so yeah, Billy's like, that's cool, and then boom, a vampire immediately comes out and
Because Billy,
bites him.
led him there. That's the other thing. Because he was following Billy.
Did Billy know that he
Yeah.
was luring him there, or
No,
was he
because
just-
Billy was like, he ran away from Evan.
Yeah,
Evan,
and he tried to
whatever.
hide behind
Yeah.
that dumpster. or whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
And then he followed him because he obviously saw and he started tracking him. That's how he got into the industrial
Fair
stuff.
enough.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, Billy, you're messing up for the rest of the
Well, Rami, this is where we get your big old machine.
My
What is that
favorite
machine?
The Muffin Muncher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm telling
it
you.
grinds up metal.
Yeah, so they throw a vampire right in. Unfortunately, Billy has been bitten and kind of cut up by this machine as well. He immediately turns into a vampire and they immediately kill him. Billy is dead.
They don't throw him into the machine that just kills
Exactly.
things.
Why did you
It's-
just push him in?
For some
No,
reason,
they
they
axe
decide to axe him in the head 3 times.
Poorly.
And when you
Yeah.
say they, it's his best friend.
Yeah.
Okay, his best friend
right.
had to kill him.
Well, I mean, if you're cutting someone's head off with an axe, can you really say that you're their best friend?
The one thing that I want to say that we did skip, which is unfortunate. Not that I want to go back too much, but MVP Beau unfortunately did die before this all
did.
happened.
Oh, yeah.
And he takes down vampire after vampire.
Glorious.
He gets in this like machine that just slices and dices vampires. On the side, he's opening the door, shotgunning some vampires.
Yeah, man.
But he
Bear.
weirdly just like
Bear
runs into a
traps.
building, then tries to explode it and doesn't die.
Yeah, that sucked.
Which
And
is
that-
crazy, dude.
Yeah.
He managed
He
to kill
killed like
maybe
3
one
vampires in that explosion, and the dynamite was literally under his ass.
Yeah.
And he
it
fucking lives.
And
wasn't.
he
It
was
wasn't
fine.
dynamite.
And
it
then-
was a box of flares.
Yeah, I was about to say flares. How the fuck are
There's
you
a
gonna?
box of
So that-
flares that made that explosion. I don't think
Yeah.
that the physics.
I thought
out.
I thought he used road flares to light the dynamite.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he
Yeah, he
lit
did.
a
It was
stick
a
of
box
dynamite,
of
didn't
flares.
it was a box of them.
Well, then why did the building explode?
Because it's a box of flares. And
that
it's
is,
a
you know,
movie.
that becomes dynamite.
I don't think the
stuff.
building exploded. I
No.
think just a large fire
Yeah.
bloom just came out.
You know
of
what?
the
I'm
front.
glad this time
Well,
is
I'm
dead.
I'm not a wizard, but I don't think that's how it works.
But also, I think this is when it goes back to when what he was saying in the attic. He's like something about guns they was shooting, and he was like, I can take guns. And then I think one of you guys were like, I want to see him get shot. And guess what? He got blown up, and he didn't die. So he was right.
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, he did say that.
They were,
He's like, I
they
can
were
take some
screaming.
Yeah, I can take some shot, and you're
I
like,
think it was
and-
me. I was
yeah,
like,
and
I'd
you-
like to see him try.
and he did, and he made it.
He was
He
a
made it.
badass.
Yep.
He proved me wrong.
Yep.
He made me.
until vampire suit guy stepped on his face.
Yeah, so he didn't
that-
say he was stronger than the boot.
He had American History
You know?
decks.
True. Yeah.
That was
a good
surprising too. I expected that to be a little bit more gory, and
Yeah.
it was not that.
They could have made that better.
I did like that explosion.
Better without
I like
having
how
More
it
gore. Yeah.
blew him somehow outside of the building, like
Yeah.
like
Free and
80s.
clear of the building.
And then the head vampire just crushed his head.
Yep.
Well,
That's kind of nice, I
Yeah.
guess.
They should have done like a Riccio head exploding kind of
Yeah.
thing. That would have
nice
been nice.
homage.
He was the clear badass of the town. I mean, Eben's all right and all, but this guy with his little chainsaw truck and shotgun,
I like-
and his box of flares, he kicked ass.
I like how Josh Hartnett earlier in the movie is like, yeah, I give him tickets to make him feel part of the town.
Oh yeah,
Like, what? What?
Well, during all of this hoopla, Stella and this young girl who was at one point in time used as baits, they're hiding under a truck. And at this point in time, basically everyone leaves this industrial factory and the vampires are just turning they like oil up the town and just start burning everything. They start burning the
What
building.
they should have done day fucking 3.
Right.
They're now getting
And now everyone's like, oh crap, they're trying to make this look like an accident. Like my Roanoke joke was not too much of a joke, that people would then be like, oh, some freak accident happened. Like clearly it's not vampires. And that's when the head vampire's like, we've got to keep the mythos alive. Like people only think we're like nightmares. We're not nightmares. And all the vampires, you know what they say?
Yeah.
Bodie!
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, Bodie.
Let's get some Jack.
Is that Jack the vampire?
Jack Plan's acknowledging Bodie. Hey, Bodie. So Josh Hartnett comes up with the only plan. He's like, because he narrates pretty directly. He's like, if she leaves, they'll kill her. But if she stays, she'll burn. And I looked at everyone in the room. I was like, I'll at least try to run. Like, I would just stay there and get burned.
She can make an adult decision.
Right, she can make an attempt. And the vampires seem pretty far away, but that one still seems really intent. Like, I still want to kill people. Like, he's really hard up on that. And so Josh Hartnett, much like a snakes on the plane option, comes up.
He has no other option.
He's exhausted all options.
All
Lamar.
options exhausted.
He's got to become Blade.
He injects
Damn
vampire
it.
blood into
You
his
called
ass.
He's going to become the Daywalker.
He wasn't no daywalker.
This is the dumbest fucking thing that could have ended this movie. I think. There's zero reason for it, and he does it anyway.
Yeah, so Josh Hartnett exhausts all other options.
He has zero options.
And he's like, I've got to inject myself with vampire blood to become a vampire to fight vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so for him to be a super soldier.
Yeah.
That's just the serum.
Yeah.
Seems like that's how it does.
What's your problem?
That's how you do it.
Sounds fine to me.
Do we want to talk about what the problem with that?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Like, honestly,
Turn into a Marvel movie right now.
like honestly, the only thing that helps Josh Hartnett in this situation by doing this is he is able to take an ass kicking, like a little more than normal. Ass kicking.
I mean, he can punch through people's heads too.
Yeah, he's
does
a
have
little
that
bit
now.
stronger now.
Yeah.
Just a
It's not like he does that. It's more like the guy runs and like he is just like able. I was gonna say firm enough. That's not.
He was firm enough to
He
burn
was-
me.
Are we phrasing?
Well, let's get there. So Josh Hartnett is like, I'm going to do it, and becomes, I guess, a vampire, and runs up to the vampire pack that's still there. And the head vampire is like, it's cool. He's one of us. Like, he sniffs him out a little bit. He's like, he's one of us. Josh Hartnett does not try to play it cool for one effing second. Like, if you just played it cool, buddy, you could have stabbed this dude in the back of the head. You could have done it so much easier. But Josh Hartnett's like, I'm going to punch him in the face. I was like, that's great, dude. But, like, you've been a vampire for, like, 1 minute. Like, you probably have no idea what's going on or how to control any of this, like, in any skill or learning anything in your life. Right. And then he's like, you gotta run. And Stella's not listening. Then there's like a bunch of a fight and a bunch of this. He's like, you gotta run. She's like, oh, me?
She just woke up.
Her mouth aghast. Finally gets up, and takes the child. He's like, it was worth it. And then they have a vampire tussle. A fussle. 30 days of fussle.
Oh God.
Yeah, so none of the other vampires are doing anything, and I think the head vampire wants it this way. And then they're fighting, and Josh Hartnett punches him a little bit, but gets his ass kicked. His head is being smashed into a car, he's being thrown around. But the end result is the vampire runs at him, and Josh Hartnett punches through his face.
Wait, was it the lead vampire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the alpha.
He kills the lead vampire.
That was the alpha.
Oh my
That,
God.
that's why everyone. Yeah, that's why everyone left. So when
Jesus Christ!
when he took
Colin
him
checked
out,
out again.
I looked down for 2 seconds. I don't know.
that's all that
He
happened.
stood down.
Yeah.
He punched through that guy's face, and then everybody, all
Yeah,
the
all
other
the-
vampires just bounced.
All the other
He's like,
vampires
"Bye."
looked at him like,
Okay, all right.
all right, like,
Party's over.
Back
Alaska
to the
sucks
boat.
anyway. I'm
Yeah.
fucking going back to Narlands.
Let's check out the next stop on this cruise.
yeah, I heard there was buried treasure, Curly's gold. What's up? So yeah, they all leave, like, "Rrrr." And Josh Hartnett's like, yeah, and then Stella's like, oh no, baby, and then we find out they were married, they were separated, and I do like the end. Like, I do like, honestly, like this moment.
Isn't it the exact ending from Underworld?
Yep. That is correct too.
But it's very video game-esque. Like, he turns into a ashy husk and kind of burns off, and she just holds him. I mean, that was nice of her. I mean, you should probably do that.
It just shows their
No, she should have
bonding
got on that fucking
relationship.
plane, dude.
He should have
beginning.
not been in the fucking sun.
Quit
so he
fucking
could
around.
live for a little bit longer.
He could have been the leader of those vampires.
He could have.
He could have gotten on that boat and been like,
Yeah.
look, guys.
He promised her
wear
that
the
he would
suits.
watch the sunset
Yeah.
with her
Right.
after 30 days, and he did.
He's like, I know a lot of
Sunset,
shitty
not-
towns where nobody's gonna miss anybody.
Yeah, I mean, if I turn into an ashy husk, I hope one of you hold me. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I'll put some lotion on.
So I'm
Let
gonna
me
put you
know.
back on that pile.
We'll get you some SPF. It'll be fine.
Yeah, look, go put me on a pile like when I become that husk baby, right?
All right.
Sweet. Yeah, that's
dirty
all I
husk
want.
baby.
Like, that's nice. Yeah, and basically that's the end of the movie. He's a husk baby.
That is the end.
And then we leave off, and then we could only speculate that there is this sequel. And Nemo noted that it involves Stella, which we may or may not know for certain.
Yeah.
Stella.
But also different actress.
Oh man.
It's
my
not even
God.
the same actress.
Oh, wow.
What happens
Thank
in
God.
30 Days of Night 2? Is there another town? Or do they like rebuild this town and burn it down again?
Based on what I was reading on the synopsis quickly was essentially Stella going out telling people they're vampires and people are like, no, you're crazy. And then she ends up being in a town that has 30
Yeah,
Days of Night.
What are the odds?
Yeah, I got the gist that it was basically the same movie, like
Yeah.
another town, more vampires. I just didn't know Stella was in it.
Yeah, it's Stella's story.
Stella.
Can she close her mouth?
Maybe this one.
It's a different actress,
Yeah, it's a
so
different
sure.
actress. Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in.
Neat. Collin thinks it's neat.
Well, before we get into our final views of 30 Days of Night 2007, as always, feel free to reach out to us at rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. If you have any insight, if you would like to tell us anything about these movies, or just request something, or just want to tell us something, get those audio sound clips that we told you about Mike, or various other things, reach out to us again, rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. We're also at rabbittroopsucks.com. There are links to all sorts of things, merchandise, pictures, various other things. We're on every platform that plays podcasts, so if you're listening to us in one area and you want to recommend to your friend, like, hey, dummy, there's another way to listen to this. Maybe it's this way.
You damn idiot.
Come on, man. It's Rabbit Troop Sucks. It's your problem. So YouTube, the iPhone app that just plays podcasts, wherever it may be, Amazon, Spotify, all those places we're there. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram. Jeremy, what did you think about 30 Days of Night? You said you've probably seen it more than anyone else.
Yeah, I think I probably have. And I'm done seeing it. I don't think I need to see it anymore. Yeah, like I said, I watched this. I didn't take any notes on this movie because I watched it back to back. I watched it. We had a snow day earlier this week, and I watched it then. But then I also watched it tonight. My kids love this movie. They really liked it. I like the movie. I'm not saying I dislike it, but watching it in an analytical frame of mind, I noticed a lot of things. And again, yeah, the more I think about it, what are those vampires doing? What are they doing?
God knows.
Like I want to. That's the thing that I want to see. Like 30 Days of Night, like behind the scenes where the vampires are like doing shit.
Yeah, God knows.
Magic
Yeah, like a
together.
reality TV show. Anyway, yeah, it's fine. I think that if you like vampire movies and you're searching for something different and you haven't seen this movie, yeah, give it a whirl. You're not going to be disappointed. But other than that, it's a fine film, I guess. It could have been shorter.
Yes.
They could have done something different than try to expand the movie over the course of 30 days by jumping from like day 3 to day 7 to day 18 to day 27. And you're like, what is going on in between here? What are they doing? Where are they pooping? That's the big question.
That can of
But
cherries.
yeah, it's fine.
Rami,
Fine film.
Rami, what did you think about 30 Days of Night 2007?
I saw this movie probably the first time on DVD because my roommate bought it just after it came out. I think I've seen it one more time after that before tonight. I did not remember it fondly.
It's like watching it again for the first time.
I still don't really like it. It doesn't work for me that well. Like it's an interesting premise. Like, okay, cool, vampires, 30 Days of Night. The graphic novel hook, cool. But the execution is just not there for me. Like, there's so much of this movie where I'm like, I don't understand why they're not dead right now. Like, How did they not freeze to death? They're all just wearing coats in an attic for like
They had that flap.
12 days looking at it.
Don't underestimate the flap, okay?
Oh, and as we were watching it, we kind of I forget who mentioned that they just keep on going for the bait. Like you've seen the bait 3 or 4 times now. You know what this is. Can't resist. God,
Love a good bait.
oh, it's got its moments. It's like a fun action movie. I'm not gonna like say that it's a terrible watch. It's just it doesn't really do it for me that much. Oh.
I'm gonna go to Nemo. Nemo, what did you think about 30 Days a Night 2007?
Yeah, I think I've seen this a lot of times, and I typically turn this on snowy days or when I want to feel warm and cuddly. I watch this movie because there's just a lot of closeness and warmth of deaf people, I guess. But I think now watching it in this lens where I've seen other vampire movies, I will say these are the more superior vampires. That these are not the ones that is like Interview with the Vampire people. These are not the Twilight folks, but they're the ones you don't want to fuck with. And so I respect that aspect of how none of the rules apply besides the sudden light. Like you saw that can do some damage, and of course, blowing their heads. I think any vampire or any creature will die in that capacity. But I do like the superiority of these vampires. I will say that watching it in the context of knowing about Alaska and Inuit and the way of living, I was like, ooh, they didn't do a lot of research this time. But it's okay. It was 07, so I'll let it pass. But with that, I will always do a shout out to True Detective, Night Country, that really does a great
True Detective?
Yeah, True Detective, Night Country. So the last season,
Season 4, I gotta get that.
does the best when it comes to actually Inuit culture and people living in Alaska. That's why I don't mind being in Alaska for 30 days. I'm like, I'm down, I'll do it.
In that show, did they use real Inuits rather than like New Zealanders?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
100%. A lot of indigenous folks were there. So yeah, but I like it. I'll probably continue watching it. And that means I have to watch the second one. I'm gonna watch. I'll watch the second one and report back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Collin, what did you think about 30 Days a Night?
I kind of think I'm kind of on Rami's side with this. Nemo's interpretation that these vampires are superior in any way is insane.
Ooh, we got beef.
Big beef, hashtag.
Because these vampires are fragile. They're strong, but they die to anything. They can get bumped by a tractor and die. And they did frequently.
Yeah, why didn't they use any napkins throughout the movie? I mean,
we talked about
We
that.
talked about that. Yes.
So wet.
Yeah. These are not the cleanest vampires. They do not have decorum. They're just primal vampires.
Glistening with moisture.
Vampire bibs.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. It was
like they're at Red Lobster. Just got little blood bibs.
yeah. I think I saw this movie when it came out, forgot about it immediately, did not realize that I had seen it until tonight, 30 years later or whatever, and then was fine. I was happier.
This is Colin's 30th anniversary.
Yeah, I was happier
30
not
days a
knowing
night.
that I had seen this movie.
18
It was fine. It's fine. It's just a vampire movie where the vampires aren't really vampires. They're more like the mid 2000 vampire style where they're more aggressive,
like feral.
For some reason. Yeah, they're feral. And then they kind of tried to give it something. The one thing I thought it was interesting about this movie was that there was like no exposition. I actually kind of liked that in theory. I don't think it really played out well here, but the idea of just having no exposition, just kind of letting the movie take its course was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But
I think those movies play out better when they're shorter, though. This was a 2-hour movie, man, and
this is a little long.
some parts just dragged. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Colin,
like, I don't care.
To add to that, I thought like honestly, there should have in most points should have never been subtitles. It would have been just fine if like we, the audience, didn't even know what the vampire was saying either. Like, oh shit, like his body movements and motions with the stranger were enough for me. Like, And whatever else he was saying, like, God knows.
You could have
Yeah.
figured out what he was getting on about.
Yeah. Just cut out some of the vampire stuff and then just let it be a little bit more, I don't know, mysterious. Something that would have probably elevated it a little bit.
There you go.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
a
in
good
the
idea.
length.
Yeah.
Lamar, what are you thinking? 30 Days a Night.
First of all, I just want to say, Paul, about the subtitles. I actually watched this movie with subtitles on a weird DVD that I acquired. And if you turn the subtitles off on everything, it also turns off the vampire subtitles. So you can watch the movie like that and
That'd
not
be awesome.
understand. Yeah, I thought about that, but it's kind of cool understanding what he's saying. But I can see that, like, just turn off the subtitles and just go with the vampire. I actually like this movie a lot. I like a large portion of it until Eben decides to inject himself and fight. That ruined everything for me right then and there. Sure. This was a enjoyable monster survival movie. Like, if you're surviving vampires or zombies and you're holed up somewhere, like, I like it for that. And I like the atmosphere and the scenery, like Alaska, 30 Days of Night. You're just isolated from society. It's not like what's the zombie movies that I'm thinking of where you're in a city and
28 days later.
or any of them really, where you go from general store to general store or whatever. There's not a lot of options here for these people.
No.
I kind of like that for the just survival aspects of it. Like I said, this movie falls apart at the end. I like a large portion of it. The fight scenes at the end, I didn't like that. Eben my God, the last 10 minutes of this movie just damn ruined it. But Collin, like you said earlier, the exposition, the fact that there's none, I like that. And the movie's just so easy to understand. You don't have to know a lot to get into it, which I really like. And I just want to keep this short. I really like this movie, except the pacing issues with the days. Like you said, Jeremy earlier. I think we all mentioned it. Just day 7, day 20, day 27. And you don't feel it with the characters. They try and do it with beard growth or whatnot. And like, I'm hungry, but I've never seen anyone eat anything in this movie.
Not at one time.
Like, I don't feel it. I understand the situation they're in. But if you don't think about it too much, the movie is easy to digest and it's enjoyable, is what I'm saying. Yeah. That's my thoughts.
What do you think, Mike?
I'm kind of with Lamar. I actually like this movie quite a bit. The flip side to that is we've talked before about like watching a movie for the podcast is a little bit different for us than just watching a movie. And Jeremy, to your point, like watching this movie with the intent of like taking notes and understanding it to talk about it, it kind of sucks. But like to Nemo's point, like it's a snowy, cold night, and you just kind of want a vibey horror movie to watch. Yeah. I think it's really good. I love the story. I love the way this movie's shot. I like it. The downside is I think all of the actors are terrible. Even like Josh Hartnett, who I do think is a good actor, he sucks in this. None of the characters are relatable in any way. But like, if you're just watching it for like the atmosphere, I think it's really good. If you're trying to, I don't know, follow a plot or have anything make sense, yeah, then it kind of falls apart. But like, would I throw this on a cold, snowy night when I wanted a horror movie? Yeah, absolutely. Lamar, you're right. The ending fucking sucks.
God damn.
But like, even with that, like, I still like this movie. I would still recommend it to people. I still have a good time watching it. This won't be my last time. I just think it's a fun movie to watch, as long as you're not trying to take it too seriously, like we kind of have to do sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo pretty much everything Mike said. I totally agree with pretty much every sentiment right there. I think this movie can be cut down at least by 20 minutes. I totally agree that the pacing of this movie needs to be fixed. The last 15 minutes of this movie is super stupid. The last moment, as I said, is kind of like endearing and nice. But like the fight and like the climax of this movie, totally ridiculous. But I do overall like the story. I love that this takes place in the winter, that it's snowy. It seems kind of cozy. Everything that Nemo was saying, I agree with as well. You want to like vibe out on a cold night and just like watch this movie. Awesome. Just the end's dumb. But I love the fact that this is a survival film. And going place to place. Like, I could overlook the why are the vampires not doing stuff, but I agree, the end is just so dumb. But that's not me saying I'm never going to watch it again. Just in the right time and probably a little more background as Nemo did. You know, it's cold outside, it's snowing, throw this movie on, kind of do some other stuff as well. But yeah. I mean, I overall like it. That's my assessment, but the changes definitely needed to be made. I'd totally read the graphic novel at some point in time. I would like to see like the similarities, the differences. I mean, the writer of the graphic novel also wrote the screenplay for this film, so that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Did anybody think? Is anybody interested in the vampire lore of this movie, like where they came from or history or whatnot?
I am.
I think it would be interesting, but also, like Paul mentioned with Aliens, I think it would make the movie suck more if you knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It'd be interesting to see if the graphic novels or the sequel goes into the history of what these are, or creates a new universe of vampires.
Yeah.
Because
There's so many questions. Like, where'd they get the boat? Where'd they get those suits?
there are a lot of questions, and I don't think all of them have to be answered.
I don't think that's
Because the suits aren't like that old,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, those
They're
are
not
recent
like
suits.
They could
Yeah.
have just made them speak like Latin or something, and it would have been the exact same fucking movie. They just made
Yeah.
their own language for no fucking reason.
Yeah, that was a weird call.
'Cause no
Like,
one
this
wants
isn't
to wear
fucking Lord of the Rings.
Like, let's
You
create
don't
some
need to
more
make your
work
own
for
thing.
people.
They're not aliens. They're on Earth. You know, like they were here at some point. They can speak French. Who gives a shit?
But, you know, speaking of weird, next week, we're going to be looking at another 40th anniversary of a film. And I do feel this fits our bill, but kind of in a way and not a way. So we're going to look at a John Hughes film, 1985's Weird Science. And I think immediately someone's going to be like, John Hughes, like, obscure, forgot about. But I believe, Lamar's out.
I'm sorry.
I believe when someone looks at the John Hughes catalog, the first movie isn't like, oh, Weird Science. It's totally
it's not
The
Weird
Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, various other movies. But yeah, I'm kind of excited. 40th anniversary of Weird Science. And it is Weird
Little
Science.
Kelly LeBrock.
Yeah, Weird Science. You sing it the whole time, Jeremy.
Isn't Robert Downey Jr. in that movie?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Damn, I'm excited as well because I just
That's
recently
like in his
watched this
Coke
movie.
days too. You know, he's like
Yeah, it was.
lit.
You'll learn all about that. You'll learn all about the family jewels.
Family Jones.
in the family door. We'll get there. We'll
Any
get there.
last thought about 30 Days a Night?
Yeah, the documentary name of this is called The Great Suckling of Barrow, Alaska.
Are you
Can you
serious?
say that one more time a little
Yeah.
bit slower?
Okay.
No, I'm not.
God damn it, Jeremy!
That's what I would
Don't,
have called
don't
this
do
movie.
that.
The
Enunciate
Great
it.
Suckling.
Enunciate it for Collin.
Can you program that into a button?
Well, as always, Rabbit Troop sucks.
Is it Muffin Muncher?
The Muffin
It's
Monster.
Monster.
Muffin-
You guys
The
keep-
Muffin Monster chews them to shit.
The Muffin Monster.
Monster
It was
chews them
always
to shit.
Yep.
I'm sorry I said that twice.
To
It's like what a kid with a helmet
The
would say.
monster muffin, the muffin monster chews
Muffin
them.
Monster.
To shit, you say.
I
To
swear
shit.
it was in the movie. Someone said it.
It is. Sometimes I can yank them out before the muffin monster chews them to shit.
See?
I think that's from a
Muffin
different
Monster.
movie.
Wow.
All right.
Rabbit Troop sucks.
Paul's letting this one record out.